What up, what up, what up, you guys? It's Blackwing 2040. Welcome to another Super Sentai review, and this will be the last Super Sentai show review of the 90s, folks. That's right, I'm going to be reviewing Chikyu Sentai Fiveman. And this didn't get an adaptation for Power Rangers. However, the suits did appear in Power Rangers Super Mega Force. They went under the name of Supersonic Rangers. But thanks to Boom Studios Comics, those suits became canon in Power Rangers lore. So thank you, Super Mega Force, for making it canon for us. But anyway, guys, so Chikyu Sentai Fiveman came out is 1990, the first Sentai of the 90s, and the second Sentai show of the Heisei era. The first one being Kosoko Sentai Turbo Ranger. So, like how I always start off with my reviews, I start off with the plot. So, in 1990, Dr. Hashikawa was researching how to transform the planet Sidon into a green, lush world, testing it by attempting to grow flowers. On the day the first flower bloomed, the Zone Empire launched an assault on the planet, separating him and his wife from their 5 children. Arthur G6 took the 5 children back to Earth and raised them while after the Dr. Hashikawa safely went to the planet P16 Milky Way. 20 years later, the 5 are now teachers at the same school, the Newtown Elementary School. The Galactic Imperial Army Zone, led by Empress Meadow and Captain Gara, now prepares to invade Earth as the 1,000th target to destroy for immortality of Empress Meadow. As they begin their attack, 3 vehicles appear and counter the offensive. 5 warriors descend from the vehicles and confront Zone. The Hashikawa siblings have been developing the Fiveman technology and training hard upon the possibility of Zone invading Earth. Now the 5 siblings are ready to battle with the familiar foes as Fiveman. So that's just the basic synopsis of the show itself, and also that's pretty much how the first episode goes down anyway. But as a show, it's not good. Fiveman is not that good. I'm very sorry. For it to be the first Sentai show of the 90s, second one of the Heisei era, it lacks so many things. But I'll go deeper into that later. But first, like I always do, let's start off with the theme song. The theme song is kind of catchy. It kind of gets a little addictive over time, especially the chorus. The chorus it's kind of fun. It's not bad. It's just like, you could just bop your head to it. It's just simple, catchy, and nice and fun. That's all it is. And that's all the intro really is, though. Now, on to the suits. The suits are really nice, especially if you look at HD quality where they bring these suits back in like Gokaiger or Don Brothers. These suits look really, really nice. I really do like these suits. And the funny thing is, not funny, but cool thing is, aesthetic-wise, pink and yellow, with them being the only girls on the team, their suits, they have earrings on their helmets, because there was a time in Sentai where the female Rangers will have earrings on their helmets. Just, it makes it good for a good design. You don't see that anymore, but it makes for a good design. So, now, with that being said and all that out of the way, let's start talking about the Rangers. Now, I'm going to go through the Rangers from eldest sibling to the youngest, because this team is actually the first Sentai team as siblings. So, like how Go-Go 5 was the second team, Fiveman was the first sibling team in Super Sentai ever, which is very cool, by the way. Who wouldn't want to be a team of Rangers and as a family? And I would like to see Sentai do that again someday, because I like the theme of that. So, the first is Gaku, 5 Red, the older sibling. He teaches science, and I feel like he lacks so much. And I don't want to compare this team to the previous sibling team, Go-Go 5. I'm just talking about them individually as a whole. Gaku, with him being the oldest, there are moments where he does struggle. I will say that, especially with him being the older sibling, having a lot of responsibility to help his siblings, keep them together, so on and so forth, and with him being the leader. But I feel like besides that, they don't do much with his character at all, and that's what hurts a lot. He's decent, but there should be more for him to do. There should be more for him to grow. But the show kind of lacks that. They just keep him as one note of like, oh, he's the leader, he's the older brother, and He's the one that kind of like helps, not basically helps to keep the team together, so on and so forth. The leader archetype. That's about it. He's very one note. Majority of the characters here are one note, and that's kind of a problem that I have with the show. But Gaku is decent. Now, the next sibling is Kazumi. She's the second oldest. She's the older sister, 5 Pink. And she teaches math. Her character, I feel like she got a good amount of episodes. Well, actually, I want to say a good amount. Probably an okay amount. But one thing I can say character-wise, with her, being the second oldest, she's the one that kind of feels like the mother of the entire team, which is good. I like that. But other than that, she doesn't really have anything else going for her besides the fact that, second oldest sibling. She kind of also piggybacks off of her older brother as well, which is nice. But other than that, there's not much to her, which kind of disappoints me. But it's neither here or there with this. Now, on to the next character, the middle child, Ken, who is 5 Blue. He teaches gym. He lacked a lot. Ken did not get that much focus episodes. He did not get that much development at all. There was definitely no room of development for Ken at all. He sometimes does brash decisions, sometimes, but not all the time. But besides that, Ken really got the short end of the stick. He did not get enough focus at all, which kind of sucks. And again, that's all I could really say about Ken as a whole. Now, the next 2 Rangers are actually twins. 5 Black, Fumia. He is the language arts teacher, and he's kind of like the jokester of the group. He's kind of silly. But one thing he has going for him that's very interesting, with him being a language arts teacher, he can also speak in other different languages, especially aliens. That's one thing the show has going for it. It has a lot of sci-fi elements where this team of Rangers interacts with a lot of visitors outside of the planet Earth, which is cool. But now Fumia, again, classic jokester character, nothing more than that. But he's okay. He's interesting. That's about it. That's all I can really say about him. Nothing more I can really go on about. However, Remy, Fumia's twin sister, I gotta say, if you ask anybody else who's watched Fiveman from beginning all the way to the end, they could probably tell you this. Remy is the best character of the show. Her focus episodes are the best episodes in the entire show. The reason why I say that, 1, she's a music teacher. 2, she's a heavy, strong martial artist. If you see when she fights out of suit, it is some of the best fight choreography you would see in this show. It is amazing. Her character is just awesome. I love her character. Straight up, she's the best character in the entire show. I don't even think, for me, development doesn't even matter for Remy. But the good thing is, the key factor with Remy and Fumia, since when their parents went missing, they were just born. So they never got to interact with their parents at all. So it does make a good story element for these two, but not really so for the other siblings, in my opinion. So now let's go on to the supporting characters. You have the teams. This is probably like the only supporting character in the show, in my opinion. Arthur G6. He is the team's alpha archetype / robotic guardian. I wouldn't say mentor because I could say mentor / guardian because he was the one that raised them all into the adults that they are at the time of the show. So without Arthur, the team wouldn't being kept together. Sometimes, when one lashes out on the entire team, Arthur is the one that kind of gets them back together to reconnect, recollect their thoughts, and calm their heads. Arthur is a good character. And not funny enough, but cool thing is he's also the team's finisher weapon, the Earth Cannon, the Earth Bazooka, which is very cool. So he's a mentor and a weapon at the same time. That's really cool. Now let's move on to the villains. These villains range from like comedic to cool to just bland. So the first villain I want to talk about is Gara. Gara has a grudge against Gaku because in the very first episode, Gaku shot Gara in the face, leaving a scar like right where his like in between his left eye and his nose. It left a scar on his face. And so he has this huge grudge against Gaku, which makes for a good story, but it doesn't really go anywhere, sadly. And another thing is Gara starts off as this cool threat of a leader, but then as the show progresses, he goes from threatening to comedic. Like right in the middle. It's just like they lost all the evil energy that they have for this character, and he just goes on to be nothing more than a joke. And it's sad. And even by the time the final few episodes roll around, when the show's about to conclude, I feel like that point, there's no saving him. There's no point of trying to make him feel like a threat anymore. It's too late by that point. And in my mind, Gara sucks. He really sucked. Next villain is Doora. Doora is the evil scientist of Zone. And she is the one that makes majority of the monsters. And that's about it. One note evil villain scientist. That's about it that she has going for her. There's a point in the show, again, this kind of goes deeper into the final villain that I talk about, but she has nothing else going for her. Nothing else besides like, oh, she makes the monsters. That's it. Nothing else. The next character I want to talk about is Billian. Billian, I was wondering, what were they trying to do with the rivalry between Gaku? It's just like, Gara has a grudge against Gaku for scarring him. Billian has a grudge against Gaku just for the sake of having like a rivalry, but for what? Like, why? Billian, though, I find him pretty cool, aesthetic-wise. In terms of like development, he doesn't really have much going for him. Only thing he cares about is fighting for alcohol and having a good duel. That's about it. Those are his only motivations in life. Nothing more. And that's all I can really say about him, sadly. The next character is ZaZa. Another character I feel like that shows no purpose. She is really only useful on the battlefield. That's about it. She doesn't do anything. Nothing. They do nothing with her. She's just a henchwoman. Nothing more, nothing less. One note. Done. There's no development for her whatsoever. I just have to mention her because she's one of the generals on the team, but that's about it. She's a general who basically does a lot of the work on the battlefield. Nothing more. This show was really just not working for me. This next character, I really hated this character so much. Dongoros. I don't know what this character's motivation is at all. What purpose does he serve outside of course, summoning monsters, sometimes being Zone's like, account checker and everything like that, but nothing else. Like, what else? What purpose does he serve? I don't understand. This is the one character on the villain side that I didn't really care about at all. Like, I did not care about this character at all. The next villain, however, does a lot more than the whole team of Zone all put together. Chevalier. And funny enough, I've been saying this so much. The cool thing, Chevalier is actually played by a Sentai alumni. He's played by Green Flash's actor from Flashman. So it's kind of cool that his actor went from playing a Sentai Ranger in his own season to playing a villain in another show. And you get a lot of actors in Super Sentai that do that. Some actors may play a Ranger, and then next thing you know, they play a villain in like a season later, somewhere later on past their show. But Chevalier, I feel like he's a much better villain than all the generals and Gara combined. Like, he's a force to be reckoned with. He has charisma. That's one thing he has going for him. He has a lot of charisma. He has energy. He feels like he wants to accomplish his goals. And a little backstory on his character: he was actually the original captain of the Volgyre. Volgyre is the name of the ship, their base, that Zone occupied throughout the show. So Chevalier is a much better villain. I feel like it would have been 10 times better if he was the main villain of the show overall, and Gara maybe just showed up later on in my opinion. I think that would have worked a lot better. But that's all I can say. But he's really, really cool. I love this character. And the last character I want to talk about is Meadow, who is supposed to be the end-all, be-all villain of the entire show. But it ended up throwing a curveball of a twist in the final 4 episodes. And I felt like by that point, this was too late. I'm like, why would they do this? So Meadow is not even an evil person. Turns out she was just a regular alien girl from her planet who Volgire, their ship, is actually a sentient being. This is where the confusion comes in. It's just like, why are you throwing this plot layer this late in the game? Like right when your show's about to conclude. So basically, when the Zone traveled to different planets that they destroyed, the life energy of those planets goes to the Volgire. And so all those 999 planets that they've destroyed over the years has been powering up Volgire up to this point. Earth is supposed to be the 1000th planet that they destroyed. So Volgire was someone who was in love with Meadow, and she wanted nothing to do with him. She died, and so she was kept in a coffin inside the Volgire the entirety of the show. So basically, Volgire just created Meadow as a quote-unquote powerful being to discipline the Zone generals whenever they messed up. That's about it. Not really the best interesting plot twist you can put in, but to put it in at the very end of the show made absolutely no sense. And another problem that I had with the show is that even though the Rangers were separated from their parents, 20 years later, they find out their parents are alive. Great. But they don't even like physically reunite with their parents. Their parents are in another galaxy far, far away. They're able to contact their parents. Fine. The parents know that their kids are still alive after 20 years, but we don't get to see a proper reunion between the Rangers and their parents. That's another thing that I really, really had a problem with the show. It was not the best. So I say this overall, Fiveman, it's not a good show. I didn't really like it. The show, my rating, it's trash. It is really, really trash. It doesn't have much going for it. There's not much development for these characters at all. And the villains are lackluster. There's so many issues that the show had. This is just like, for this being the first 90s Sentai show, it is very forgettable. And it's not that well known. It's a bad show. That's all. Again, this is my opinion. But if you want to check out Fiveman, I highly recommend that you check out Fiveman. And the great thing about that is it is also available on physical media from Shout Factory. We don't have this available for streaming. However, this is probably as of right now, this is the last pre-Zoo Ranger show that's available to us here in the United States. So basically, Fiveman and Jetman, the only shows pre-Zoo Ranger that we have available to watch. Jetman's available on streaming and physical media. Fiveman is only available on physical media. I'll leave a link to the Fiveman DVD in the description below. But anyway, guys, that's my review of Fiveman. If you watched Fiveman, what did you think of it? Did you think it was good? Did you think it was bad? Are you in between on it? Let me know in the comment section below. And remember to be civil in the comments. But with that being said, folks, with all the 90 Sentai out of the way, stay tuned for the next review because we are going to be kicking it into high gear starting the new millennium of Tokusatsu. That's right. The next review is going to be 2000's Mirai Sentai Time Ranger. And I am so excited to be talking about Time Ranger. You have no idea. I cannot wait. It's going to be so exciting. So stay tuned for that in the weeks to come. And as always, folks, don't forget to follow me on all my socials. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and click that bell to be notified. And as always, folks, thank you so much for being here on this 90s Sentai journey. It's only going to get better because once I start incorporating 2000 Sentai, I'm also going to be incorporating Kamen Rider. And the first Kamen Rider that's going to be talked about here on this channel is going to be Kamen Rider Kuga, which I'm also going to be very excited to talk about in the coming weeks. But with all that being said, folks, I appreciate you guys watching. Stay tuned for the next review, which will be Time Ranger. I am Vengeance. I am Darkness. I am Blackwing. Stay golden.